This hand is from a $25,000 buy-in poker tournament, and I'm going to break it down in 5 minutes. Call the clock. Action on Jeremy Osmus under the gun with pocket kings. He raised it to 160,000, but oopsie, that's not a legal raise. Not at the 50K, 125K blind level. Maybe he got the blind level wrong. Maybe he misspoke. Maybe he meant 260K. Regardless, words are binding and his action is ruled a call. For what it's worth, I do think he meant a raise, so I assume he has his entire under the gun raising range here. He just accidentally misclick limped it. Over to Alexander Shilko with pocket aces. Shilko appears to be a little confused about the action, or at least feigns confusion, before making a good raise to 4 big blinds. Folded back to Osmus, who now makes it 9 big blinds. You could consider calling here as a trap. I prefer to fast play the kings. Gives me a better chance to stack hands like 9s through queens, get all the money in against ace, queen, ace, king. But if he had aces instead of kings, I prefer to see him set the trap here with a call, because that hand is a lot less vulnerable. But it's Shilko who has the aces and goes for the trap. Now, solvers can't help us with this exact hand because of the initial limp, but imagine if stacks were doubled to start the hand and Osmus made a legal raise. Then Shilko 3 bets, Osmus 4 bets. We'd have created a hand that's very similar to ours with a nearly identical stack to pot ratio. And in that situation, Shilko's aces call 90% of the time at equilibrium. Position can also play a role when deciding whether or not to slow play a big hand. It's harder to get value out of position, which explains why Osmus, the out of position player, is trying to pile the money in now, and Shilko is happy to call in position and see a flop. Flop is ace, queen, 7 rainbow, and Osmus c-bets 400K into 2.5 million, roughly 16% of the pot. You might think that sizing is too small. I actually would go even smaller, and the solver agrees, preferring a bet size of around 10% of the pot. It just makes sense to go smaller when the board is good for your range, dry, and the stacks behind are shallow. This spot has all 3. Shilko, though, isn't going anywhere with top set. Raising here would make me physically ill. Please don't do that. You're going to stack all of your opponent's strong value hands anyway and gain equity by giving them a chance to bluff. Shilko agrees and calls. The turn is a 7 and Osmus checks. Seems good. Kings are too weak to bet the turn here for value and are likely to be ineffective as a bluff. Shilko checks 2, deciding to trap. He's hoping this induces a bluff out of his opponent, or maybe he improves just enough to put more money in on the river. Both players could have mixed in some small bets here, but checking makes a lot of sense too. River is an ace, giving Shilko quads. This also improves Osmus's hand, sort of. His 2 pair is still only 2 pair, but now with 2 aces on board, it's less likely his opponent has one. Still, he checks. That's what I would do. The solver bets. I find that weird. They're targeting hands like queen jack suited, jacks, 10s, and 8s, and I guess if you think you're going to bet here and those hands are going to call, there's value to be had, but it seems rather optimistic. I don't know most human beings that get to the river with this range, let alone pay off with it. Over to Shilko with half pot behind, and I thought he'd shove. He doesn't. He picks a smaller size, about 2/3 of Osmus's remaining chips, and I'm a bit surprised by that, but the solver does use a non-all-in size at a low frequency with our bluffs and our value hands, but what would those bluffs even be? Due to the previous action, both ranges here are so strong. The weakest hands Shilko can possibly have are bricked suited broadways, hands like king jack suited, king 10 suited, jack 10 suited, and unfortunately those block some hands Osmus might fold, like kings, jacks, and 10s, but there really aren't many better bluff combos to use. But Shilko doesn't have to worry about that because he has quad aces and looks to get another million chips from his opponent. Osmus correctly deduces how few bluffs his opponent is likely to have here and finds a fold. Getting kings versus aces is usually disaster for the player with kings, but thanks to his timely misclick, Osmus folds and goes on to win the tournament for nearly $2 million. If you like this breakdown, hit the subscribe button and check out Upswing Poker for more content.